Good day to everyone. I am Constanzo Pabsanin Jr., a registered psychologist from National Center for Mental Health. And I'd like to thank you for inviting me to be one of your resource persons to talk about one of the most important topics, no? Which is the psychodynamics and psychoanalytic therapy. So let's begin. Psychoanalytic and psychodynamic therapies are forms of talk therapy that focus on the same methods, such as exploring the unconscious mind, the early life experiences, and unresolved conflicts to understand how they influence the current thoughts, emotions, and behavior of the individual. These psychotherapies are both rooted in the theories of Sigmund Freud. Remember the psychoanalytic theory, during your advanced theories of personality. Okay. Now, let's see the difference of these two modalities in psychotherapy in terms of using comparison. Like psychoanalytic is entirely based on the teachings of Sigmund Freud. So this is purely focused on the psychoanalytic theory, while psychodynamics, which is also taken from psychoanalytic, is based not just the teachings of Freud, but as well as the neo-Freudians, no? Yung mga naging estudyante ni Sigmund Freud, such as Carl Jung, Adler, and Horney. Psychoanalysis is usually done much frequent in a week, like usually mga 3 to 5 times a week, while psychodynamics can be performed with 1 or just 2 weeks. And usually psychoanalysis is longer than the psychodynamics. Psychoanalysis can be intense and shocking because talaga huhukayin ang mga unconscious materials ng isang individual, while psychodynamics is less intense. Traditional psychoanalysis is done while the client is sitting or lying on a couch, while psychodynamic naman is done while the client is sitting face to face with the therapist. And psychodynamic has no detailed analysis of the unconscious, unlike the psychoanalysis. Psychoanalytic therapy involved out of the theory of psychoanalysis, which I have mentioned, developed by Freud in the 1800s, no, 1890s. But according to the American Psychoanalytic Association, the goal of psychoanalytic therapy is to identify patterns of thinking and behavior that cause emotional distress. Psychodynamic therapy naman is a form of talk therapy also. Focus on learning how the person's subconscious thoughts, feelings, and memories, which are affecting their current behavior. With this deepened insight and self-awareness, they can develop coping techniques and achieve therapeutic goals such as improving relationships and making better choices. Now, this approach to psychotherapy can also help you cope with mental or emotional distress and gain self-awareness, insight, and even emotional growth. But what are the benefits of psychoanalytic and psychodynamics therapies? Let's see. Psychoanalytic and psychodynamic therapies are effective in helping people gain insight into the repetitive, self-destructive patterns that hold them back in relationships or at work, at school, or even other aspects of everyday life. Now, these two modalities of psychotherapy uses almost similar techniques since they are originally came from one theory of personality, which is the psychoanalytic theory. Okay? And it is very effective in helping people gain insight, right? So to help clients explore the unconscious mind, understand their emotional patterns, and resolve inner conflict. Some of the techniques are first, the free association. Okay? Being very common. No? In the 19th century, psychoanalyst Sigmund Freud developed free association to help clients break through blocks caused by unconscious trauma and resulting defenses. In his early days of using free association, Freud would hypnotize clients. Tapos he would place them on their hands, on their foreheads, the hands on their foreheads, and ask them the first words that would come to their mind. He used free association to analyze dreams, slip of the tongues, and even yung obsessions. What's of interest with this technique, even today, is not just the ideas clients express, but the movement between one idea and the other, the way certain ideas connect or get blocked. Freud wanted to make the unconscious conscious, and free association was his way of doing this. Free association aims to deepen your self understanding by looking at whatever thoughts, words, or images come freely to your mind. Now, during free association, no, your therapist may ask you to share anything that is on your mind, such as memories, words, images, or your daydreams. Okay? So, what you say won't always make sense, actually, and that's okay. The aim naman is to explore your inner world and look for patterns that come up. In current practice, however, free association tends to be more collaborative. Like if your therapist asks you freely to associate in a session, they are giving you the opportunity actually to express whatever ideas, thoughts, and daydreams come to your mind. So it aims to access the unconscious mind. Your therapist will most likely work to notice repeating patterns, symbols, and memories among your free floating thoughts. Now, working together with your therapist, you might follow the clues of these associations to increase your self understanding. Now, what happens no, during free association? Let's say a client starts talking in therapy about the birthday cake he bought for his sister's birthday that morning. Tapos next, he remembers his cousin who died on his 12th birthday. After which event, his family stopped throwing him parties. Maybe he mentions getting into a fight with his mother after visiting the bake shop for his sister. Now he doesn't feel up to the parties he's hosting for his sister later tonight. So nakita niyo yung pattern. Now, these free associations might lead him with his therapist to question the anger he may feel towards his cousin for dying or toward his family for giving up on his birthday celebrations. Outside of therapy, he might censor this anger, fearing it to be unfair or inappropriate. The goal of free association would be to release his anger in therapy. So this would allow him to think and feel clearly about his sister's party and maybe plan a party for himself on his birthday. Okay, so that's the free association. Next is exploration of dreams. Okay? Dreams are analyzed as a window in the unconscious, okay? Revealing hidden desires, fears, or even yung mga unresolved conflicts. According to Freud, okay, dream analysis is by far the most important psychoanalytic technique. Okay? He actually often referred to dreams as the royal road to the unconscious. Psychoanalytic theory holds that many thoughts, memories, drives, and emotions that remain outside of conscious awareness show up in dreams and fantasies. Psychoanalytic therapists often analyze recurring symbols and imagery from their clients' dreams to discover key themes and patterns that may emerge during the discussion. Now, psychoanalysts may interpret dreams to get insight into the workings of your unconscious mind. Okay? So the therapist offers insight into the client's thoughts, feelings, and behavior, helping them make connections between past experiences and present issues. Now, a person in therapy relates a dream to the therapist, like sa discussion no, in processing follows, and new information is gleaned from the dream. Okay? So at the conclusion of the process, the therapist can help the person apply the new information in useful way. Although these similarities exist, each therapy model applies dream analysis in different ways. Like for example, no, of dream analysis, like for example, Lisa is a student. He shares a dream with her therapist in which she is in the back seat of a moving car while the car is on the road, but there's no driver inside. So the stoplight ahead turns red, and she is unable to stop the car because no one is driving. Okay? The therapist helps Lisa break down the manifest content into the following symbols, like ano ba yan? Okay, we identify the moving car, the back seat, the red light, and the loss of brakes. Now, through the process of free association, Lisa shares whatever comes to mind when thinking about each symbol. Nakita niyo yung combination from dream analysis, may kasama siyang free association. The therapist interprets these associations and offers potential learning or meaning. Okay? Lisa and her therapist decide that the dream represents the unconscious conflict she has felt about choosing a career. So she reveals that her parents want her to study medicine, and she has not yet told them that she wants to be a writer or journalist. The therapist suggests that the runaway car is on a path to a future that she does not desire. Kaya walang driver pala, no? And then until she gets into the driver's seat, she will not be able to stop it. Now, this interpretation fits for Lisa, and she decides to tell her parents about her career aspirations. Okay? Now, although dream analysis has waned in contemporary use, it remains an integral part of some theoretical frameworks. Now, according to a study of some theoretical frameworks, no, according to a study from one of the Journal of Psychotherapy Practice and Research, dream analysis appears to be most popular among psychoanalysts trained in psychodynamic theory. Okay? The study found that dream analysis is also used in the following models, although it is not common, like sa person-centered therapy, sa cognitive behavioral therapy, and even sa Gestalt therapy. Additionally, psychotherapists who participate in the study estimated that approximately 70% of the individuals they treated obtained some benefit from dream analysis. Now let's go to transference and countertransference. Okay. Transference in psychoanalytic theory is when you project feelings about someone else onto your therapist. So a classic example of transference is when a client falls in love with their therapist. However, one might also transfer feelings of rage, anger, distress, or dependence, so not just love. Now, working through transferred feelings is an important part of psychodynamic therapy. The nature of the transference can provide important clues to the client's issues while working through the situation that can help resolve deep-rooted conflicts in their psyche. There are three types of transference in therapy. One is the positive transference. Next is the negative transference. And the last one is the sexualized transference. Now let's go to positive transference. Okay? Positive transference sometimes can be a good thing. Okay? An example of positive transference is when you apply enjoyable aspects of your past relationships to the relationship with your therapist. This can have a positive outcome because you see the therapist as caring, wise, and concerned about you. So maganda yung magiging relationship ninyo. The benefits of positive transference can be seen in a case study involving a child with autism. Now, once positive transference started to occur, the young boy's bond with the therapist started to strengthen, and he began following the therapist's directions, and therefore reducing the boy's aggressive behaviors and his learning abilities were developed. Next is the negative transference, which involves the transfer, of course, negative emotions to the therapist, like anger and hostility. Um, Anger and hostility are two emotions that might have been felt during childhood, no, either toward a parent or other important individual, then reappearing in the therapeutic relationship. Now, negative transference sounds bad, but actually can enhance the therapeutic experience. Once realized, the therapist is able to use this transference as a topic for discussion, further examining the client's emotional response. Some research suggests that sexualized transference, okay, on the other hand, may be more common, no, for members of the LGBTQ. Ito yung if you fall in love with your therapist, no, especially if the person has only few friends, only they can trust few people, tapos nakitaan niya na magandang quality yung kanyang therapist. So, ang tendency, nagkakaroon ng sexual transference, which is by, falling in love, not actually yung sexual in nature. Okay? Counter-transference naman, okay, on the other hand, okay, the therapist's emotional reaction to the client are examined to understand the therapeutic relationship. Okay? Counter-transference occurs when therapists projects their own unresolved conflicts onto the client. So ito yung opposite ng transference. No? Yung therapist naman nagkakaroon ng projection of their feelings. This could be in response to something the client has unearthed. Although many believe it to be inevitable, countertransference can be damaging if not properly managed. With proper monitoring, however, some research shows that countertransference can also play a productive role in the therapeutic relationship. Okay? Usually, ang mga therapists, no, palagkaroonan ng negative or sexual transference or even counter-transference dapat, okay, the therapeutic relationship, okay, must be ended. Okay? So, kailangan silang i-refer to other service provider or therapist. Now, let's go to resistance analysis. Resistance analysis, no? Resistance is the individual's efforts to prevent repressed drives, feelings, or thoughts from being integrated into the unconscious awareness. So the therapist identify and explores the client's resistance to discussing certain topics or emotions which may indicate unresolved issues. From the word itself, no, there's the resistance, no, from the client. Okay. Next is the focusing on past experiences. Another technique, no? Now, the client examines childhood relationships and formative experiences to understand how this shape their current patterns of behavior. Psychodynamic therapists explore early experiences, the relation between past and present, and the ways in which the past tends to live on in the present. Now, the focus here is not on the past for its own sake, but rather on how the past sheds light on current psychological difficulties. And then there's empathic listening and reflection. The therapist listens actively and reflects on the client's emotions and experiences, fostering deeper self-understanding. Okay? So empathic reflections can also be used to strengthen the therapeutic relationship and show to client you are listening. Reflections can also be used to deepen emotion, guide the conversation, or even confront your client with a specific fact or feeling that they mention. Another technique is the emphasis on therapeutic relationship. The interaction between the therapist and the client is used as a model to explore and address relational dynamics. Okay? The therapeutic relationship results from the development of trust with a corresponding establishment of a safe environment where open communications are possible. An alliance between therapists and clients, forms a symbiotic bond. Actually, it's always important that you have to establish alliance between you and your client, which sees them cooperatively working together in the best interest of your client. For all the techniques that we have mentioned, these are applied flexibly. So meaning dapat ito ay tailored fit to the client's needs and aim to foster self-awareness and long-term emotional growth. So hindi siya yung rigid na sunod-sunod, yung sequential or lahat dapat binibigay sa isang specific client. Okay? Now, there's a lot of issues, and debates about the controversies, the effectivity of the use of the psychoanalytic and psychodynamics approaches in psychotherapy. Okay, so sa isahin natin kung ano mo itong mga issues na to and criticisms about these two type of psychotherapies. Okay? So first, the theoretical basis and the scientific validity. Psychoanalytic and psychodynamic therapy has been criticized for its lack of empirical evidence and reliance, okay, on abstract concepts, like for example, yung unconscious and the different defense mechanisms, which are of course they are difficult to measure or falsify, scientifically. Okay? However, some proponents argue that the therapy is focused on the complex human behaviors and subjective experiences that are not easily quantifiable, but are nonetheless still valid for the understanding of human psyche. Now, when it comes to the effectiveness, studies on psychoanalytic and psychodynamic therapy have sometimes shown mixed results, especially when compared to more structured short-term treatments like yung CBT or the cognitive behavior therapy. However, supporters highlight the depth of the psychoanalytic therapy, which addresses root causes of issues rather than the surface symptoms, and claim that it leads to a long-term improvement, even if gradual. Now, in terms of accessibility and duration, critics say that psychoanalytic therapy is often long-term and expensive, making it less accessible to people with limited financial resources or time. However, practitioners argue that lasting personal transformation requires significant time. So hindi naman agad-agad, yung pagbabago or the improvement. And of course, it needs investment. And that newer psychodynamic approaches offer more time-limited and affordable alternatives. Okay. Another criticism is that psychoanalysis therapy gives emphasis on childhood experiences alone, and parental relationships can lead to oversimplification. Okay? So neglecting the current life circumstances or other influencer factors like yung sa genetics and the sociocultural context. However, practitioners assert that early experiences form the foundation of personality and influence adult behavior, making this focus critical. Now, the importance of transference is a cornerstone of psychoanalytic therapy, it's the therapist-client relationship, which is viewed skeptically by those who prefer more directive or solution-focused methods. However, advocates believe that exploring transference can reveal unconscious patterns that are crucial for healing. Now, with the integration with the modern psychology, okay, some argue that psychoanalysis remains too insular and fails to integrate findings from the neuroscience or sa mga evidence-based psychological research. However, recent developments such as mga neuropsychoanalysis aim to bridge the gap between psychoanalysis and neuroscience. Pagsasama na pala yan. Showing compatibility with more findings. Okay? And for the cultural and social relevance, okay, psychoanalytic theories and especially Freud's, have been criticized for culturally biased and overly focused on Western patriarchal and heteronormative perspectives. However, contemporary psychodynamic therapies, after Freud, incorporate intersectional and culturally sensitive approaches, expanding the relevance of these therapies to diverse populations. Okay? Now, for the comparison with alternative therapies, okay, critics argue that therapies like CBT or the DBT or even the mindfulness-based approaches offer quicker, more pragmatic solutions to mental health issues. However, supporters of psychodynamic therapy counter that these alternatives may not address deep-seated conflicts and that psychodynamic approaches provide tools for enduring psychological insight and resilience. Now, the debate over psychoanalytic and psychodynamic therapy is likely to continue as these approaches evolve, incorporating modern research and adapting to contemporary challenges. Their strength is addressing deep emotional issues must be weighed against criticisms regarding time, cost, and scientific rigor. Now, with the current status of the utilization of these two therapies, especially in the Philippine settings, okay, let's take a look at back with Freud. While Freud's classical psychoanalytic theory and traditional clinical technique have earned widespread criticisms for their lack of scientific evidence based on or testability. The explanatory power of psychoanalytic theory has become part of popular culture in the West. For example, we all know about the Freudian slip and generally accept that people often remain unconscious of certain aspects of themselves, their motives, behavior, and the impact they have on others. Various defense mechanisms have become part of our everyday language, especially sa mga popular psychology, such as yung denial, repression, and projection. There is also no denying that Freud's interpretation of dreams had led to the widespread belief that our dreams actually mean something, rather than just being a series of random events that occur when we're sleeping. Meanwhile, the central therapeutic concepts of transference and countertransference have informed a widely accepted psychodynamic understanding of the relationship, especially in health and social care settings. Now, these ideas have also informed the development of safeguarding practices that uphold professional boundaries. Some of Freud's ideas may seem eccentric and of their time, but his legacy is far-reaching and has influenced areas of thought far beyond the clinical practice of psychoanalysis. Now, psychoanalytic and psychodynamic therapies in the Philippines are actually gradually gaining ground, supported, of course, by the increased attention to mental health due to the proponent, mga mental health proponents, okay, and under the mental health law of the RA 11036, which was published in 2018 and enacted on 2019. However, they remain underutilized. Okay? due to several factors such as, of course, we have a very limited trained professionals. No? Makukunti na nga lang mga psychologists sa Pilipinas. So very few talaga, a handful lang siguro ang nagpa-practice ng uh, psychodynamics and psychoanalytic approaches. And of course, there's an issue for accessibility and cultural stigma surrounding mental health. Okay? Efforts to improve mental health services include the expansion of mental health programs by the Department of Health, okay, and the WHO or the World Health Organization. These include, no, one of the programs that we have is the Mental Health Gap program. Okay, it is a training for health workers who have no mental health background, okay, in the rural area. They're being trained to manage, okay, mga different types of mental disorders and prescribe, okay, antipsychotic medicine. Okay? And there's also an expanded mental health benefit package by PhilHealth. So covered na ang mental health services ng PhilHealth. Now, these efforts aim to integrate mental health services at the community and primary healthcare levels. Although the psychoanalytic and psychodynamic therapy is not yet a common offering in these settings. Okay. So that's all from my presentation today. I hope you gained something from this short presentation. Thank you and good day.